It's 1940s Eastern North Carolina. Tobacco barns lining the horizon. Whole hogs smoking behind the mill on smoke-stained picnic tables. No fancy restaurants, just vinegar-drowned pork, hush-puppies sizzling in lard, and families stretching every penny. These 25 foods aren't myths. They're what tobacco farmers actually ate to survive long harvest days. In this video, we're resurrecting 25 foods these Eastern North Carolina tobacco farmers ate alongside their vinegar barbecue, counting down from number 25 to the ultimate number 1 plate that powered the harvest. And the last one isn't what most people expect. It only showed up when the entire operation was on the line. Hushpuppies, starting our countdown at number 25. Hushpuppies, the cornmeal miracle that silenced barking dogs and rumbling stomachs alike. Tobacco farmers didn't invent Hushpuppies. That credit goes to either slaves or Confederate soldiers. No one really knows exactly. In any case, these red horse bread balls, as they were once called, were tossed to yelping hounds. Tobacco farmers perfected the Eastern North Carolina version. Take self-rising cornmeal, a fistful of chopped onion from the garden row, maybe some grated carrot if the mule hadn't eaten it all, and enough well water to make a thick batter. Drop it by the spoonful into a cast-iron skillet bubbling with hog lard rendered from yesterday's scraps. Fry till golden, salt heavy, and serve hot beside vinegar pork. These weren't side dishes, they were the backbone, soaking up every spicy drip from the meat. One farmer's wife from Duplin County remembered frying 5-gallon buckets worth for barn raisins, enough to feed 50 hands without breaking a sweat. That's hush-puppy power. Vinegar-pickled pork rinds. Number 24 takes us to vinegar-pickled pork rinds, the crunchy snack born from absolute thrift. After the hog split open on the pit, nothing went to waste, not even the skin. Farmers scraped it clean, boiled it soft in a galvanized tub with vinegar, red pepper flakes from the summer harvest, and a pinch of saltpeter to keep it crisp. Slice thin, fry quick in fresh lard, then dunk back in the vinegar brine overnight. By morning, you had jars of tangy, chewy rinds that traveled easy in overall pockets for all-day chewing during barn work. Kids fought over the last handfuls at supper, and auction days, they'd pack a mason jar as their only lunch. In lean years, when tobacco prices tanked after the Depression, these rinds stretched the meat budget further than imagination. Today, you buy puffed rinds in bags. Back then, they were gold, collard greens with ham hock broth. At number 23, collard greens simmered in ham hock broth, the green engine of every tobacco supper. Eastern North Carolina, clay soil, grew collards tough as the farmers themselves, big leathery leaves that laughed at frost. Harvest a mess after church, strip the stems, chop rough, and pile into a pot with a smoked ham hock saved from last year's hog killing. Cover with water, toss in garlic from the dooryard, crushed red pepper for bite, and a fat slice of stale cornbread to thicken the pot liquor. Simmer low on the wood stove all day while the men cured tobacco. 8 hours minimum, stirring only when the barn horn blew for dinner. That pot liquor, liquid gold, sipped straight from mugs or sopped with hoe cake. Nutritionists today rave about collards vitamins, but farmers knew. Greens kept malaria away and hands steady for leaf sorting. Vinegar slaw with cabbage and carrots. Number 22. Vinegar slaw, the cool crunch that cut through barbecue grease like nothing else. No mayonnaise here, that was for city folk. Grate whatever cabbage bolted early in the garden, mix with carrot shavings from the mule patch, thin-sliced Vidalia onions if the crop held, all drowned in cider vinegar, sugar, black pepper, and a splash of hog drippings for silkiness. Let it sit in an enameled bowl overnight. The vinegar tenderized everything while flavors married. Piled high on butcher paper beside the pork, it was the yin to barbecue's yang. Sharp tang balancing fatty shreds. Tobacco crews shoveled it down without forks, using Hushpuppies as spoons. In 1947, after a bad freeze wiped tomatoes, Slaw became supper's star. Farmers' wives bragged whose batch made grown men weep from the bite. Still cheap today, but nobody ferments it like they did. Hoa cakes fried in pork lard. At number 21, Hoa cakes. Cornmeal patties fried crisp in pure pork lard, the daily bread of the tobacco belt. Mix white cornmeal with salt, boiling water from the stovepipe, and shape into patties right on the blade of your field hoe. No oven needed. Press them into sizzling lard in the same skillet as breakfast eggs. Cook till edges curl black, flip, drain on feed sacks. These traveled in tin pails to the fields, staying warm till lunch under a rag. Eaten plain, crumbled into milk, or torn into pot liquor, hoe cakes multiplied every scrap. One farmer from Greene County said his wife baked 100 daily during prime. Breakfast, dinner, supper, snacks. Flour was for biscuits on Sunday only. Hoe cakes built calluses and cures. Tomato-glazed pork belly scraps. At number 20, a rare treat when the garden overflowed. Most bellies went to sausage or smoked slabs, but scraps, those fatty trimmings from hog butchering, got special treatment. Chop fine, simmer slow with overripe tomatoes from the vine, vinegar for zing, molasses if daddy sold extra tobacco, and a blizzard of black pepper. Thicken to a sticky glaze, fry crisp. Served warm over rice or shoveled straight, these scraps fooled kids into thinking it was steak. Tobacco mamas rationed them for payday suppers after auction, when cash burned holes. Today, we'd call it carnatas. Back then, it was belly magic turning waste to feast. Number 19. Boiled peanuts in salted brine. The roadside fuel that grew wild along tobacco rows. Green peanuts dug fresh from the field, not the dried store kind, dumped into wash pots with salty well water, sometimes okra pods or crab boil spices if company came. Boil 3 hours till soft, drain, salt heavy. Eaten hot from the pot with fingers, shells piling like tobacco stems. Farmers snacked on them walking between barns. Kids shelled them for supper sides. Cheap protein when hogs ran low, and in wet years, peanuts saved harvests. Eastern North Carolina still boils them at fairs, but nobody ties them to vinegar barbecue like the old crews did. Perfect chasers for spicy pork. Sorghum-Sweetened corn pudding. Number 18 brings sorghum-sweetened corn pudding, the sweet surprise that turned field corn into comfort. Fresh ears scraped raw from stalks that survived summer droughts, beaten into a thick batter with eggs from the scratch coop, soured buttermilk straight from the churn, and dark sorghum molasses pressed from cane grown behind the barn. Pour into a greased iron skillet, bake slow in the wood oven till the top crusted golden and the middle jiggled like unset custard. Tobacco wives saved this for Saturday nights after market day, but leftovers reheated beautifully under pork slices or cold with morning milk. That earthy sorghum bite perfectly offset the vinegar tang from the hog pit, making simple ingredients feel like a holiday. During World War II sugar shortages, sorghum kept dessert dreams alive. 1 pint stretched sweetness for a dozen mouths. Pepper sauce drowned chicken necks. Dropping to number 17. Pepper sauce drowned chicken necks, the humble bounty from the Sunday fryer hen that no part went wasted. Simmer those necks low with onion skins peeled fresh from the garden, bulb patch, and wild bay leaves foraged from the creek bank till the meat slipped tender from bone. Then pack them tied into quart jars with homemade vinegar pepper sauce, fiery bird peppers grown in the dooryard hot as Judgment Day, steeped with garlic cloves and a whisper of cloves. let pickle a full week in the cool cellar. Serve ice cold, straight from the jar, or warmed gentle beside the barbecue pile. Tobacco hands made games of sucking every shred off those bones at church picnics, tossing empties into the brush for the hounds. Pennies bought pounds of protein, infinite layers of heat and tang. City chefs toss necks in trash. Farmers forge feasts from them. Field peas with snaps and bacon grease. Number 16. Field peas with snaps and bacon grease, the unstoppable crop squeezed between tobacco rows that fed families through lean spells. Gather peas, still green with their crisp pods, those tender snaps. Attached, shell only half to keep texture. Then dump the lot into a speckled pot with side meat scraps trimmed from breakfast and pure bacon grease spooned from the can. Cover with ham stock saved from yesterday. Season heavy with pepper vinegar straight from the cruet and coarse salt crystals. Boil slow till peas burst soft and snaps melt creamy, thicken into a gravy that stood alone. Tobacco mamas hauled these pots to the field station midday, where crews ate family style from the shared rim, spoons clinking like camaraderie. They grew without fuss between cash crops, turning fallow dirt to full bellies. Legacy field food, simmered deeper then than any recipe book dreams. Biscuits scraped with pork gravy. Number 15. This was the resurrection ritual that turned dawn's leftovers into supper's salvation. Slap together cat head biscuits from plain flour, cold lard chunks the size of hickories, baking powder, and thin buttermilk wrung from the cow's evening milk. Bake them fist big and golden in the hottest oven mouth. Meanwhile, build gravy from pan drippings of that morning's pork chop ends, whisked with more flour into roux, flooded with milk cut by water, and peppered till it snapped. Split biscuits steaming, drown in gravy, then scrape every drop with fork tines till plates shone. Leftover biscuits found new glory this way, limp pork reborn in the flood. Tobacco days dawned and closed with this duo. No silverware needed for work-worn hands. Number 14. Okra pickled in vinegar brine. These slimy pods transformed into tangy jewels that punched above their weight. Harvest, young pods tender before seeds hardened, pack jars tight with whole garlic cloves smashed from the dooryard bulbs, fresh dillweed snipped from fence row volunteers, and yellow mustard seeds toasted light in the skillet. Flood with boiling cider vinegar spiked with pickling spices and a jolt of sugar to balance slime. Seal, hot, cool, slow in the cellar. Ready in mere days, eaten straight by the fingerful or chopped fine into slaw for extra pop. Tobacco women put up gallons come August after harvest rush. Those jars lined pantry shelves like green gold through winter. Their crisp bite sliced through fatty pork like revelation, a forgotten jar opener to deeper flavors. Nobody quick picks quite like the old Beltway. Sweet potato fries baked in hog fat. Coming in at number 13, the crispy kin to modern fries but born from root cellars and thrift. Slice garden, sweets thin as shillings after parboiling soft. Roll heavy in white cornmeal, seasoned with salt and smoked paprika, if kin brought it from town. Then lay single in greased black iron pans slick with pure hog rendering saved from sausage days. Bake fierce till outsides crackled gold and insides steamed fluffy. No fryer needed. Tobacco farmers carried them cold in pocket tins to munch between barn runs, their natural sugar fuel and sweat without crash. When WW2 rationed white potatoes tight, these orange wonders ruled every plate. No imports, just home soil magic turning humble tubers to handheld heaven. Cabbage rolls stuffed with rice and pork bits. Number 12. Cabbage rolls stuffed with rice and pork bits, the bundled brilliance that fed crowds on church league pennies. Blanch the biggest outer leaves from bolted heads surviving late frost. Wilt soft in simmering water. Stuff full full with rice parboiled in leftover pork stock till plump, mixed with fine-chopped hog trimmings, grated onion sharp as wit, and a pinch of sage from the yard. Roll tight like fat cigars, nestle in a bacon dish and smother with thin tomato sauce cut by vinegar and garden juice. Bake covered low till leaves yielded tender and filling swelled steamy. Church suppers auctioned trays of these. Tobacco picnics packed them cold for the wagon ride. One head fed 8 easy, thrifty genius wrapped in green. Cornbread dressed with vinegar syrup. At number 11, cornbread dressed with vinegar syrup, the sweet-sour twist that elevated everyday bread to rare indulgence. Bake thick skillet cornbread from sifted meal, eggs, and thick buttermilk till crust snapped under knife. Interior moist as promise. Boil cider vinegar with white sugar, a knob of butter, and dash vanilla scraped from rare pod till syrup thickened amber. Drizzle hot over split warm slabs, letting it seep deep like memory. Sticky heaven soaked every crumb, turning supper staple to auction night treat when tobacco cash flowed brief. Farmers sopped pork scraps through the pools, wives rationed pores to savor. Rare then, revolutionary now. Vinegar's tang met sugar's pull in perfect forgotten harmony. Ham hock stock rice. This was the fluffy canvas that caught every pork essence and made it sing. Start with smoked hocks, simmered dawn low in the big pot with onion halves, carrot ends from yesterday's stew, and celery snatched wild from creek mud. Hours till bones gleamed and broth glowed deep gold. Strain hot, cook field rice right in that fat-flecked liquor till grains plumped sticky, each absorbing hock's smoky soul without mush. Fluff light with garden parsley snips, mound high beside vinegar BBQ as neutral base for bold flavors. Tobacco suppers built around this daily. Cheap starch stretched meat thin, warmed cold days, filled empty nights. No plain side. Every forkful carried the pit's whisper, turning water rice to hog-kiss luxury. Mustard greens with pepper vinegar. Number 9. Mustard greens with pepper vinegar, the fiercer cousin to collards that woke sleepy tongues after dawn cures. Forage or garden mustards, jagged leaves, bitter as regret, chop rough stems and all, then boil fierce in salted water with fat back rinds to tame wild edge. 2 hours minimum till silky soft. Drain pot liquor precious for bread sopping. Douse greens steaming with pepper vinegar brewed from long hot chilies, garlic skins, and cider sharpness straight from the barrel. That heat snapped through pork fat like lightning, clearing sinuses clogged from barn dust. Tobacco crews demanded mustard twice weekly. It sharpened focus for fine leaf grading, chased malaria chills from bone. Hotter greens, harder harvests, nature's own firewater side. 8. Pork jowl fried crisp. Bacon's chewier, tougher kin that rewarded patient teeth and bold appetites. Slice jowl paper thin across grain from the hog's heavy cheek. Dredge light in cornmeal if fancy struck. Then fry screaming hot in its own rendered fat till edges blackened, lacy, and center yielded chewy. Drain on rack, salt storms while sizzling. Eat finger hot with teeth pulling every salty thread. Tobacco breakfast started here. Jowl crisps tucked in biscuit pockets for all-day chew. Suppers piled beside slaw for crunch contrast. No waste. Trimmings fed dogs. Grease jarred for hoe cakes. 7 black-eyed peas with hog jowl. Black-eyed peas with hog jowl were never just a New Year's dish. In a lot of houses, they were weeknight fuel. Dried peas hung in cloth sacks or mason jars, shelled when there was time, soaked overnight when someone remembered. Hog jowl came salted and thick, sliced into slabs that went straight into the pot with onion quarters and a bay leaf pulled from the yard. The rule was always the same. Don't salt early. Let the peas soften first. They simmered low for hours, sometimes half the day, until the peas split creamy and the jowl melted into the broth. By supper time, the pot was thick enough to stand a spoon. Some folks served it over rice. Others went straight from bowl to cornbread. It showed up on tables because it worked. It stretched meat. It fed hard days. Luck or not, it earned its place one spoonful at a time. 6 vinegar-marinated tomato salad. This tomato salad showed up when the garden stopped asking permission. Tomatoes came in heavy, split at the seams, warm from the sun. They were sliced thick and layered with onions shaved so thin you could see light through them. Cucumbers went in if there were any left. Then came cider vinegar, sugar just enough to round it out, and black pepper crushed right on the board. It sat in the fridge or the cold pantry long enough to draw out juices and turn the bowl pink. By supper time, it was sharp, cold, and swimming in its own brine. That bowl went next to hot meat every time. It cut grease. It cooled mouths. People sopped the juice with bread when they thought no one was looking. No mayonnaise, no shortcuts. Did yours ever have cucumbers in it, or was it just tomatoes and onions? 5 lard-fried catfish nuggets. Catfish nuggets weren't about presentation. They were about feeding people fast. Catfish came from ponds, creeks, and muddy water holes after a rain. Once cleaned, the meat was cut into chunks, not fillets. Nuggets meant more pieces, more plates filled. They were rolled damp in cornmeal with salt and pepper and dropped into hot lard deep enough to mean business. They fried fast. The outside set hard and golden while the inside stayed tender. No waiting around. Paper sack drain, straight to the table. Vinegar sauce or hot pepper on the side if someone had it. These disappeared before the skillet cooled. They showed up when hog meat was gone and money was tight. Creek fish filled the gap. Where did your catfish usually come from? Pond, river, or store? 4 sorghum pork belly boil. This dish showed up when there was a little extra. Pork belly got cubed thick, parboiled first to soften, then finished low and slow in a pot with sorghum syrup, vinegar, mustard powder, and black pepper. Nothing fancy, just patience. As it cooked, the liquid reduced and clung, turning glossy and dark. By the end, the fat had surrendered and the meat pulled apart with a spoon. It went over grits or straight into bowls. This wasn't everyday food. Sorghum took work. Cane had to be pressed. That's why kids remembered it. As it cooked, the liquid tightened and darkened. The belly softened and took on that sticky glaze that clung to everything it touched. It didn't get rushed. When it was ready, it went over grits or straight into bowls. Ladles were smaller than usual. Whatever was left got scraped up with bread before the pot went to soak. 3 Cracklin cornbread patties. Cracklin cornbread started at butchering time. Pork skins were rendered slow until they puffed and turned crisp. Those cracklins were chopped fine and folded into a stiff cornmeal batter made with hot milk, egg, and salt. Nothing loose. This batter had weight to it. Spoonfuls hit hot lard and flattened into patties. They cooked halfway fried, halfway baked, turning dark on the outside while staying soft inside. Every bite snapped, then settled into corn and pork. These showed up with beans, greens, or straight off the skillet. Vinegar on the side if you liked it. Most of the time, they never made it past the stove. 2 whole hog vinegar mop sauce wings. After a hog cook, the pit wasn't quiet yet. Mop sauce stayed hot, sharp with vinegar and red pepper. Chicken wings were cheap and easy to stretch a night. They soaked overnight in that same mop, picking up salt and heat meant for pork. They grilled low over leftover coals, turned and mopped again and again until the skin tightened and took on color. The flavor was pure pit, tangy, smoky, and loud. Wings disappeared one by one while stories ran long. This was how nights got stretched without spending more money. Nothing bottled, nothing wasted. Just taking what worked and making it feed a few more people. Number 1, Tobacco Barn Brunswick Stew. Brunswick stew was built for scale. It cooked in wash pots outside tobacco barns, stirred with paddles because spoons weren't enough. Meat came from everywhere. Rabbit, squirrel, chicken, whatever was on hand. Corn was cut straight from the field. Lima beans were shelled that morning. Tomatoes went in crushed by hand. Potatoes thickened it as it bubbled. It cooked for hours, sometimes all day, seasoned with vinegar from the hog pit, cayenne for bite, and salt to hold it together. The stew fed harvest crews from sunup to dark. Deals were made over bowls. Arguments ended with second helpings. Every farm guarded its version, but the purpose stayed the same. One pot, many people. No waste. That stew didn't just feed work, it held the whole operation together. If you grew up around any of this food, you probably noticed something while watching. None of these dishes were written down the way recipes are now. They lived in timing, in habit, in knowing when something was done without checking a clock. That's why they fade so easily. When the people who cook them stop standing at the stove, the food doesn't just disappear. The knowledge goes quiet. If there's one dish here you remember differently, or one you haven't seen in years, drop it in the comments. Not the polished version, the real one. The way it was actually cooked, served, or stretched when it had to be. These foods didn't survive because they were trendy. They survived because people depended on them, and some of them are still waiting to be remembered.